Hello and welcome to our weekly devotion. I'm Pastor John at Church on the Hill in Conway, Arkansas. Every Tuesday, I bring a devotion at 7 p.m. For about 10 minutes just to kind of go over something that the Lord has put on my heart and to deliver it to those that wish to watch. Here at Church on the Hill, the last 4 weeks, we have been studying through the book of Philippians. We were going to do that over the summer, and we are still in chapter 1. But last week we read from verses 12 through 17. And something that I thought of as we were studying through that, and I even maybe alluded to it a little bit in the sermon. But and if you can always go back in our archives here on Facebook or on YouTube. Actually, it's not on YouTube yet. We're still working on getting that done. But if you go to our Facebook page at Church on the Hill, you'll see our sermon from last week. But we talked about how some preach Christ out of envy, out of strife, and of course others preach Christ for the furtherance of the gospel. And one thing that came to my mind was just the fact that some definitely preach Christ out of strife and envy and out of pride, and maybe even out of maliciousness. I think there's some that are angry. There's some people out there that are angry with life. They're angry even with God, and yet they profess Christ, and they profess to be preachers, and they profess to be evangelists and soul winners, but they're angry. And I just don't understand that. I don't understand why. But everybody's unique. Everybody has situations that I'm not going to sit in judgment of because I don't know where they've been and what they've experienced. But we are called by God to preach Christ with love, to preach Christ to further the gospel, not to do it out of envy and strife and anger and bitterness and malice. So regardless of the background, regardless of the circumstances that have led somebody to be feeling in those ways, it's up to you. It's up to us to overcome that. And I thought of an analogy that I think works in this situation, and I'll use that as an illustration here shortly. But I want to go ahead and read the passage, and before we get too much further into it, Philippians chapter 1. I will read verses 12 through 17 for the sake of the listener. It says, "But I would ye should understand, brethren, that the things which happened unto me have fallen out rather unto the furtherance of the gospel, so that my bonds in Christ are manifest in all the palace and in all other places. And many of the brethren in the Lord, waxing confident by my bonds, are much more bold to speak the word without fear. Some indeed preach Christ, even of envy and strife, and some also of goodwill. The one preach Christ of contention, not sincerely, supposing to add affliction to my bonds, but the other of love, knowing that I am set for the defense of the gospel." I want to focus on verses 15 and 16, where he talks about those that preach Christ of envy and strife and of contention, supposing to add affliction to my bonds. Something came to my mind about this, and I'm a simple country boy, so I have simple illustrations and simple ideas. But vinegar is what came to my mind as I was thinking about this. You know, vinegar does have some good uses. I mean, obviously we use that to pickle things. We even use it to ferment things. One of my favorite things to do is make buttermilk pancakes. And because we don't make it often enough, I don't keep buttermilk in the house. But sometimes I'll take regular milk, add a tablespoon or two of vinegar, let it curdle for 5 minutes, and you get the same effect as buttermilk. Vinegar has a wonderful use there. Some people take apple cider vinegar on a daily regimen to keep their gut healthy. Of course, we use it to make pickles and pickled okra, and I love some pickled okra. Vinegar has some good uses, but vinegar is very repulsive and very vile when you take it by itself. I mean, it really is. For those that take it, apple cider vinegar, my hat's off to you. I can't get past the smell. But sometimes I think we use the gospel and we try to sell the gospel with vinegar. And vinegar, again, has its uses, but Christ, in his example, did not give the gospel with vinegar. The apostles, they didn't give the gospel with vinegar. That doesn't mean that the gospel won't be offensive, because it is. It's offensive to some, but by nature, it's not offensive. It's a good news. That's what the name gospel means, is good news. It's good news to all people, and to the world, not just to the Jews, but to the Gentile only, also to the Gentile and the Greek and the Jew. And so I think of vinegar, but I also think of wine. You see, in the Bible, wine is often given as a blessing, but wine can also, of course, be a curse. But when Jesus was on the cross, suffering, and he said, "I thirst," they offered him wine vinegar on a sponge, and he rejected it. And as I thought about that, this came to my mind. So Jesus took wine at the Last Supper, just less than 24 hours before he is on the cross at this time. So he drank the wine, and of course some would dispute that, but I think the Bible's pretty clear about it, that he drank the wine at the Last Supper. And then as they go to give him the wine vinegar on the cross, he rejects it. Why? It's because the nature of the wine has changed. It's gone from being a simple fermented grape juice that is good tasting and has a good purpose, to a wine vinegar, which was very bitter, very repulsive. And so he rejected it, of course, and then shortly thereafter he passed away. But the gospel can be used in both good ways and bad ways. The gospel can be used as a very pleasant and satisfying solace to our soul. But it can also be a turnoff. It can also be bitter. And the nature of the person isn't as much as important as it is the nature of the delivery, and the nature of the attitude of the person that's doing the delivery. You see, when Jesus took the Last Supper, he was surrounded by those that he loved, and that those that loved him. And then when he was offered the vinegar on the cross, it was offered by his enemies. And so when we offer the gospel to the world, we can't control who they are. We can't control how they receive it, but we can control how we give it. And dear Christian, we must give the gospel in love, in the right attitude, in the right spirit. Don't give the gospel with the personality of a chainsaw, or with the personality of a wine bottle, a wine vinegar bottle, or anything like that. We are supposed to give the gospel with love, with honor, with respect to Christ, and with respect to mankind. And so, I don't know if this makes much sense to you, but think of it like this. Pickles are good. The result of putting vinegar in with cucumbers and some spices, a little bit of garlic maybe, and some dill, that results in a pickle. And there's, of course, some that don't like pickles, but pickles are pretty good. I don't mind a good pickle. And like I said, I love pickled okra. The result is good. And even pickled juice has, with of course being partly vinegar, or largely vinegar, pickled juice has some benefits, especially for those that are dehydrated or cramping, that sort of thing. And here I am giving medical advice, and I'm not a doctor, or even claim to be one. I've never played one on TV. But it does have some good benefits. However, the straight vinegar is very repulsive. And so how we deliver the gospel makes a big difference. And so the truth may hurt. The truth may be offensive. But we couple it with honey. We couple it with love. Couple it with charity, which is, of course, a form of love. We couple that with care and honor and respect. We combine the gospel with all the other good things that come with it. We are not giving it with a spirit of strife and maliciousness and ill intent. We're not giving the gospel just so that we can prove we're right, or so we can hold it over somebody's head that they're a sinner, or that we can show that we are better than they. No, we don't give the gospel for that reason. We give the gospel for Christ's sake, and for the world's sake. Again, I don't know if that makes much sense to you. I'm just a country bumpkin, but I hope it helps. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on this page, send us a message, or send us a email. Last week I announced our email address and our website. It is currently not working. We're trying to go through some things there. So use our backup email. It's ConwayCoth, COTH@gmail.com. Send us an email or reply to this post, or send us a DM. Anyway, I hope this helps. Lord bless you. Shalom.